So let's go over to the edge and we're just gonna slam this thing in the water. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Check it out. We're finally doing the Spry. Remember the SwellPro Spry? Their little mini kind of race drone-ish style waterproof drone. Well, today, you can see it here. It's got a new case and everything. Today we're going to be bringing this finally in the ocean. If you guys missed, I did a few flights, an unboxing, and a few flights near my house in the pool, and also in some rain. So check those out on the channel. I'll have the link in the description and also a card pop up here for the playlist. But today is all about the water in the ocean and testing this thing, going through some of the advanced features, dunking it in the water, seeing how well it performs. Before we get it up in the air, I just wanted to show their new case here. And they also made some changes to the drone itself. So when you open this guy up, the main thing was that it never had this piece of foam here before. It was just open. This is the diaphragm here that kind of lets pressure fluctuation, so it can have the barometer working better. So that might kind of work better with how it was kind of fluctuating in its altitude. But pretty much everything is just the same. There's been a couple of firmware updates. One thing to note is they kind of took away the acrobatic mode. Remember how at my house I was kind of flipping around in the water and stuff, and I tried doing some flips in the air. In acro mode, I had to kind of manually set that up as a switch. It seems like they took that away because I don't think it has really quite enough power. So even though we don't have that acro mode, we'll just see how it does in the modes it does come with now. Just taking it out of the bag here, you can see I'm on the lava rock. I'm here on Maui and Wailea, so just a beautiful day. Couldn't have asked for a better day. You can see the boats are coming in kind of close to the shore when it's this calm here, and just a fantastic Sunday today. Thanks for tuning in and spending it with me today. So we got the extra props here in the new bag. We have the antennas for the controller. The controller just goes in. It's kind of like a dual layer here. You can see how this flaps over. Anyway, that's basically it for this new bag. It's kind of cool because it's way more compact. It's about half the size. You can see how that's just a very small footprint, really easy to carry around. It's got a plastic handle here, and then it's got some clips if you wanted to put a strap on it, and the controller, batteries, and everything just goes right here, stacks on top of each other, and you can close that up for easy transportation. I've got a 64 gig high-speed card. I'm going to be recording in stabilized. We're going to try out the stabilization feature. I turned that on and it's going to be 4K, so we're going to see how that works. Make sure these tabs are in the right spot. I'm just going to slip that in, make sure it's seated down in there, and then put on the cover like this. Back goes in first, kind of goes under that little lip there, and then push the front down so that seal, make sure there's no dirt or debris in there, and then we just flip this lock over. And so the drone is really ready to go. That's all there is to it. Just make sure your props are on tight. Put it in the bag with the props on. Don't have to unscrew and screw those back on. I'm just going to launch it from right here on the lava rock. While I'm flying, since there's no way for me to record this FPV screen on here, I'm going to go ahead and set up these Eachine 200D goggles, so you guys will be able to see kind of the FPV. I'm just going to set these goggles on this case while I fly it, and I'll be recording that in the goggles, so you can kind of get a feel for how the FPV is looking on the screen for me as well. You just have to install these antennas and then make sure we're in normal mode, GPS mode. There's really nothing else you have to do on the controller. Just make sure that plugs in. This is a waterproof controller, so you could very well throw it in the water as long as it's all sealed up, and it will stay waterproof. Tested that in my house at the pool. Hold on the power so you hear kind of a beep. Just want to get it fairly level here so it's not rocking around. That seems pretty good. We'll power on, and I'm immediately seeing a boot sequence, and then it says initializing on the screen. I just want to make sure that initialization on the screen is actually goes away before we go ahead and fly it. This one takes a little while if it hasn't been like flown for the day to acquire satellites. So I've got like 9 satellites on screen, and so I like to just let it kind of sit there while I'm setting up other stuff and kind of getting ready, just for a minute or two, just to acquire lock and so all your functions work properly. Got everything recording, just need to start the recording actually on the drone. So we'll go ahead and hold. We'll take a quick little picture. There we go. And then we'll hold in this button here to start recording. You hear 2 beeps, and we should be recording in 4K at 30 frames per second. There we go. And you can see if I push these up and down buttons here on the left and right, you see that camera going up and down. So we'll keep it fairly level right now. I don't know if you guys can see this in the hat cam, but you see how there's a little bit of fog in here? That's what kind of plagues this controller. I'm not sure if the newer models have fixed this yet. A little bit of humidity fogs up the screen inside of it, so I can't really see very good on the FPV. So hopefully maybe that goes away as it heats up. Anyway, let's go ahead and launch. We have 15 satellites. We're gonna keep it in GPS in normal mode, and we're gonna pull both sticks in or in and out. Down and in or down and out. Let's try down and in first. Nothing's happening. Oh, there we go. I want to stand back. The wind is kind of picking up a little bit, so just pushing up on the throttle. Wow, that was full throttle up, and it was taking a while to launch. Anyway, we'll just kind of let it hover here for a second and kind of like lock itself in. I am getting about, I want to say 5 miles per hour from this direction directly, blowing right on shore. And this is how the drone's handling it. Let me just fly right here, and we'll get right up to it. It's wanting to go up on its own a little bit, so I'm bringing it down. Let's see if they made that altitude hold a little better. I think that foam piece should be helping it a little bit. See how stable it is. Yeah, it's not bad. It looks actually better than when it didn't have the foam piece, so that's good. Anyway, we want to fly out there. We want to test it, dunk it in some water, right? I want to be careful because there's some snorkelers and divers around here, so of course I don't want to crash into them. So maybe what we'll do is we'll fly out, since I have so many batteries. We'll fly out, we'll just see how far we can maybe get. This isn't like a long distance drone, remember, it's just to be like kind of around the shore and stuff. So I'm kind of looking at my screen, and I'm going to tilt the camera down a little bit. Of course, that fog makes it really tough. Anyway, I'm going to get a little bit higher. I can see all the stats on screen here. A little higher up, go forward. What is our altitude? Just tilt the camera a little bit. There we go. Just do like a little bit of a pan here to show you where I'm at. See how this camera handles it. Remember, this is kind of in the stabilization mode, so we'll see what it does, how shaky it is on the recording. Okay, you can kind of see how that's working. Just a slow yaw to the right. Bring this camera back up. So here's maximum camera all the way up. You can see how it's in the clouds there. Let's do camera all the way down. And look at that, nice. We got a nice shot of the water. Trying to keep it in line of sight here. And let's just fly straight out this way. You can see how it doesn't have a gimbal, right? So you're gonna have to move that camera up and down a little bit. And let's check out this boat here. There's a boat kind of close right out there. So when I push forward, you can see how the drone's gonna pitch on the camera. So you're gonna have to use your fingers to kind of stabilize with this one, remember guys? So far so good. I'm just gonna kind of book it out here, and let's just kind of see how far we can get. And then we'll do a return to home and see if it comes back. Just going straight out. Let's lift the camera back up so we can get the horizon. You can see it kind of fighting that wind, and the image is tilted. So yeah, no gimbal here, just tilting up and down. Let's get kind of a shot of the water. FPV might be getting a little scratchy. Okay, camera's all the way down. That's how the ocean looks. And let's get that camera back up. So what's our distance? Looking on the screen, 560, not sure if that's meters or feet, but that's how far it is, saying it's away. We've been in the air for 4 minutes, 46 seconds on the left. You can see our voltage, 15 satellites. So we're getting pretty far out there. That's way out there. It looks like our FPV is kind of losing it a little bit. FPV is getting quite scratchy. Just trying to keep the horizon in view while I'm pushing forward. Okay, so it looks like it's dropping out at 815. So we'll go ahead and do a return to home. I'm going to hold down this button here until I hear a beep. And here's where we can see kind of what it's doing. So you saw it turn around, and now it should be flying back. I'll have the video and the FPV up on the screen, as well as the goggles recording, so you can see that mileage, hopefully in the goggles, ticking away. It's going pretty quick. Okay. Let's see how accurate it is at returning to home. Still have 15 satellites. So on the bottom right, that looks like the height, 45, I guess that's 46 meters. And then on the left, I think we're getting 7.8 or 8 meters per second. You can see next to the arrow on the very left of the screen. And on the very bottom, we can see how far it is away from our home point. So it's closing that gap pretty quick. Not incredibly far with the range, because it did seem like it started to kind of drop out and start going super slow because it was in and out of signal. So this is not a long ranger stock. Okay, there it is, coming right overhead. And let's see how accurate it is and kind of where it wants to land. I took off right here, remember? Right there. Let's see how close it wants to come down to that point. So we're dropping at 1.5 meters per second. Looks like it might be a little off. Just a little. It's gonna land like right on my goggles, so I don't want it to land there. We'll kind of get it out of there. And you know what, on this one, it's gonna keep returning home even though you take over controls. So you absolutely have to, you see how it's coming back at me? You have to get up, and then you have to hold down the return to home again. Let's see if that turned it off. Yeah, so you have to hold the return to home again until you hear that beep. And then that's when it cancels the return to home. So we're already getting a low battery reading here, and it's beeping at me. So I think they're kind of careful on their low voltage. You can see we're at 10.9 volts, so we still have lots of power. So that's just a warning, like if you're far out and you see that low battery, that's when you kind of want to come back. So I'll pop the other battery in, then we'll do more of those advanced functions. That was just to kind of get a feel for how it's flying and all that stuff, and how the return to home worked. So again, there's no like crazy awesome sensors on this thing, so it's not going to be like DJI accuracy and hovering and landing. We'll land, pop in a new battery. So landing on lava rock. Whoa, right here. And just holding down until it shuts off the propellers. That wasn't too bad. And then I do want to stop recording, so let's see if I just press this once. Nope, that didn't stop recording, so I gotta press and hold this button. There we go, and that should have saved the recording to the memory card. So good first flight, and you see that gyro calibration required. So I don't know, I calibrated it at my house several times, and that still pops up sometimes. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe something they need to work on in the software. Just to note, I just powered it off, and I walked over here, and this port is a little bit hot, and that's what this is supposed to do. It's like a heat sink, so that's the only really hot thing. The motors are absolutely not hot whatsoever, not even warm, so definitely have no problem with motor heat whatsoever. It's just this heat sink here. Glass looks good. I don't see any fogging in the glass like before. Just took the battery out, guys. I should tell you about this too. And this thing is pretty hot. I mean, I'm holding it, I'm feeling the sides here, and that is a hot battery. So you know, that's the thing about waterproof devices, is you got to seal the inside so there's no air cooling. It's just relying on this heat sink here. Definitely give your battery a lot of rest before you start charging it again, because these do get pretty hot. Battery 2's in. I just let it cool off for about 5 minutes, so the drone and the controller are still kind of warm. But we're just gonna launch, and I forgot we need to go in the water, right? So we need to do the water. We also need to do some of those advanced functions. Satellites on the second power up of the day, they locked really quick. As you can see, we already have 15 satellites, and we're just ready to rock. So let's go ahead and arm. Okay, it seems like it arms faster if you pull the controls down and out. And let's launch here. Okay, launching, and let's go right to the water. Of course, you just want to make sure this thing's sealed up good, right? Oh, I need to start recording. So again, don't forget to record. Let's do a picture real quick of the shoreline here so you can see how the pictures are, guys. Photo. I'll have that pop up on the screen for you. And we'll start recording by holding in that button again. Waiting for that red light to blink. Looks good. So let's go over to the edge. And we're just gonna slam this thing in the water. I guess first thing we'll do is just kind of drop it down. It is pretty low tide right now, so I don't want to hit the coral. So I'll kind of drop it right in this little spot right here. So let's do this. Let's tilt the camera down so we can get some underwater footage and land right on the water. See how this looks. Woo! Yep. Cool, so the FPV is still kind of working. The props are still spinning, and I can still rotate the camera. Of course, it's going to be kind of shaky. And I'm kind of yawing the drone. Kind of like the other SwellPro, is it'll stay armed in the water if you want it to, and you can still kind of fly around in the water. It's actually working very well. Let me bring it a little closer for you guys to see this. Check out the reef. Little shaky video, but it's still totally possible. Pushing up. Wow, that took a long time to push up and launch. That was a little scary. So now it's going up on its own again. So I'd imagine that's because there's water on top of the little diaphragm. Just kind of crash around in the water. Pick the camera kind of up, so we're not just looking at the water there. Let's go right about here. Boom, in the water. Nice. Let's try to ram it in the water going this way, kind of fast. Come back and we'll do a water ramming, not a reef ramming. Full throttle forward, down, boom. Okay, it didn't disarm yet. You can rearm it. Let's try to rearm if we're in the water. I probably want to do that away from the reef here though. Let's go right around here. Okay, so I'm going to drop it in, and I'm going to hold it down on the throttle until the propeller's disarmed. There we go. See how it's disarmed and I can't fly it? We're just basically floating in the water. Go ahead and pitch the camera down. I can see some fish possibly checking it out, swimming around down there. I was just rocking in the swell. Get the camera level again. Actually, let's get the camera all the way down and then let's try to launch from here. So that's all the way pitched down on the camera. I'm gonna arm the motors. So throttle down and out, didn't work. Let's try the other way where we go down and in. There we go. So they did arm. Now let's see if we can lift off. Pushing up on the throttle. Does seem like it takes a while to launch, guys. But we are launched. Let's go sky high real quick. Woo! Get a cool shot from in the water to way up high. Whoa, we got an overload warning from pushing the throttle like crazy. So that's not good. So I just let off on the throttle, just hovering there. Let's get some shots of this nice blue water here. Little yaw shot. All right, it's looking good. And what we want to do is come back down. We'll fly out more towards the ocean so we're not over anybody. Pulling down. Okay, and of course I gotta figure out where I am, right? Is that me standing up there? I think so. You guys will be able to tell. I can't really tell in the FPV, but no, that's not me there. Cool. Well, if you don't know where you are, guess what you can do? You can press return to home. So lift the camera up a little bit, and then we'll just hold down return to home. Because I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing it, you know what I mean? So it should actually, let's see if it tries to go back to where it armed in the water over there. Remember how I rearmed it? Let's see what happens. So while it's going, let's see if we can pitch. Yep, we can pitch the camera down. You can see some water on the lens, the very bottom there. So it should be trying to get over its spot, and then now it's descending. Okay, now I see myself. White shirt down there at the very bottom of the screen. Wow, that was hard to like find myself there. It's coming down slowly. We're at 6 minutes on the battery from launch. And remember, I rearmed in the water over there, but it seems like it's maybe trying to come back to the controller. That's interesting. Let's see if we move over here. Nope, it decided it just wants to return to home there. That was kind of cool. So it may actually be trying to initially return to where the controller is, which is actually a good thing. I'm gonna press return to home until I hear a beep, and that should have stopped it, but it seems to still be landing. Let me try to push up and move it. Still coming down, that's interesting. So we'll push up again. There we go. So it looks like with this one, you may need to like fly it a bit to get out of return to home until it kind of stabilizes. And that's not a very good picture because we're just seeing a water droplet there on the camera. So pick it back up to horizon. So 7-minute mark. Before we do these follow features, we want to put another battery in. So maybe we'll just do like a circle around point until the battery runs out. We'll kind of try that first. So kind of go up to about here. Let's get ourselves in view. And let's try some of these circle flight functions. So I'm clicking this switch down to the middle. And it's pointing towards me. Or it's pointing towards something. I'm not sure what it's pointing at. And it's starting to circle, so I have to move the camera around while it's circling, right? Okay, so it's circling the point you started at. So probably what I would have to do is, let's get out of this. Let me try to fly directly over myself. And then let's start our circle point right here. Okay, and circle flight, go. So it's gonna fly out. Okay, so it flew out a predetermined, looked like about 50 feet. And now it's starting to circle, and this looks like it's pinpointing me a lot better. Yeah, look at this. So all I gotta do is adjust the camera up and down, and that is a pretty precision circle around point for not having any image recognition or anything. It's not bad at all. Let's see if we can adjust our circle. I'm pulling back on the controller as it's flying out. So it kind of stopped circling. I'll go up a little bit because there's some snorkelers there. So, okay. So it's making a wider circle now. I want to come in a little bit because I might hit that tree. There we go. So you can alter everything while you're flying your circle. Looks like I'm a little to the left of the screen now. But hey, not bad. I'm just doing a circle around point. Let's see if I can yaw it to adjust it a little bit. Let's see if it stays there. Yeah, so it kind of turned itself back, and that's kind of how it's dealing with the circle around point. So a little out of center sometimes it looks like if you start moving it around, so, but that's good enough. You see how it's kind of coming in center again? And then you are gonna have to adjust your tilt up and down. Anyway, that is a function that does work. And now we're getting low battery light on there, so if we're done doing our shot, we just flip out of circle flight, back into GPS, and it just sits there and waits for a command. So let's do one more return to home, and let's see how close it lands or where it wants to land this time. So I just held down return to home, and it went up to an altitude. It's coming in close to where it thinks it wants to land. So guys, it looks like this one's just gonna land somewhere around the controller. So just be ready to take over control. You know, disabling return to home, and you need to push up if you don't want to land right away. So I pushed up on the throttle, and now I want to put it down where I want. So again, we'll go just right here. I'm kind of feathering the throttle. I want to get it right there. There we go. Holding down again, and the props disarm. Cool. Well, we went down to 11 volts on that one. It was probably a little more until I landed. Again, this is a coolant heatsink, and it feels actually cooler now that there's some water dripping off of it, and it had some cooling of the water. There's no fog in the lens still. The motors, they're still not hot at all, so it's doing very well for this saltwater today. So guys, I'm going to change the battery one more time, and we're going to do a follow me test. And remember, if you flew in some water, don't forget to kind of blow off around the edges. You don't want that salt water or even fresh water getting in the area where the battery and the electronics are. So make sure you're powered down. I would recommend just blowing off some of the water around the seam or wiping it off with a towel. Then go ahead and open it up and just make sure like no droplets or anything get inside there. See how there's a couple drops that dropped in around the edges? You really want to wipe that stuff out, so I definitely keep a towel with you. This time we'll start with the controls down and out, see if it arms a little bit better. Whoa, this lava rock's dangerous. So arming, yeah, so down and out seems to arm a little quicker. Go ahead and launch here. Oh, a little bit of a shaky launch because it was gripping the lava rock there. So let it get its bearings here, and then we'll do some follow me functions. Kind of dropping on its own. Got to lift it up and want to move it away from me a bit. For this, we have this little button on the top, kind of on the opposite side as the camera and video button. There's an F button, and this should be follow. So let's try to get myself in shot. And what it should be doing, the controller has GPS on it, so it should be trying to follow the controller. Let me press F. Pressing one time does nothing. We got to press and hold. Hearing a beep, and it says follow me enabled. Cool. So let's see what it tries to do. So does it think I'm way on the side of the screen? So maybe not the best GPS accuracy on the controller. Let's see. Okay, so it's kind of rolling to kind of try to keep me in view. Let me see if I can correct this. Moving the yaw just a little bit to try to get myself in the center. Let's see if it yaws back. Yeah, so it's kind of controlling its own yaw. Let's just go ahead and walk down the beach here for a little bit. I'm just gonna have the controller in hand and just see how well it follows me. I'm not touching anything except holding the controller and walking on these precarious lava rock. And we'll just see how good it is at tracking me down the beach. Looks like it's doing fairly well. It's keeping me in the view of the screen. I'm not running or anything because I don't want to run on this lava rock, but it's doing pretty good. And again, this isn't image tracking, so it's relying on the GPS of the controller. And it's kind of a follow where it's just going to kind of tail me and follow. You see how it's turning its head? So it's just like a tail follow. If I walk towards it, let's see what it does. Let's see if it backs up. Yeah, it's going to kind of back up. So it's kind of like that all-in-one kind of follow. The regular follow mode like on DJI drones, where it's just going to follow you around and turn. Cool. So just be careful if you're walking towards it, it is going to back up. Let's see if we can maybe get it to follow at a farther distance back so we can get more of the shoreline. But it is doing a pretty good job at keeping track. So I'm going to push up, try to get some height. Nope, it's not letting me do anything. So it looks like you have to start your follow like basically wherever you put it. So I'm going to turn off the follow me. Let's see how we do that. Click it once. Okay, so follow me came off the screen. Now I can control it. Okay, that's cool. So let's get out to the distance we want. We'll go up a little bit and we'll get a kind of a cool shot and kind of have it follow me from way the heck out there. So we'll go even farther back. See how it does on the shoreline. Let it kind of stabilize. And I'm going to press follow now. So holding in follow. Follow me enabled comes up on the screen. And remember we have to pitch our camera up and down to get the pitch we want. And we'll go ahead and walk this way on the shoreline. And let's see if it can do this. Like say you wanted a cool shot from out in the ocean coming in, and say you're riding your motorcycle or something, or who knows what, your boat. You're on your boat and you want it to follow you. It's going to follow that controller. So let's see, where am I? Still following me? Yep, I'm still there. I'm not touching the controller. It's probably kind of just turning its head because it doesn't really need to roll to follow me, right? So not bad. I'm looking at the FPV and I am seeing my white shirt. So at least I can spot myself with my white shirt there. Just walk down a ways and see how good it does. So the cool thing about this, guys, is you can go kind of as far as you want and it'll keep following it, because as long as it's not out of range of the controller, if there's that link, then the drone knows where the controller GPS is. You know what I mean? So seems like it's doing pretty good. So success on the follow me. It looks like it's working fairly well. Turning the follow me off, it looks like you do have to hold in the F and let go. Yeah, so once that's off the screen, would have been nice to hear like maybe 2 beeps or a beep or something, but I didn't hear any beeps. So let's go ahead and return to home and see where it comes back to. See how we have a notification beep when return to home is initialized. Let's see if it decides to come back to me. Hey, it looks like it is. So keep that in mind, guys. It will come back to the controller on return to home. So if you decide to do a follow me way out in the middle of nowhere and you're far away from your home point, it will come back to you. Is that me down there? Yep, that's me. So it's gonna land right on top of me, I guess. Or a couple feet away. Yeah. Picking the camera back up. And remember, I wanna stop this return to home. Holding until we see a beep, but you still need to move it around a bit until it stabilizes. There we go. Now I'm off the sticks and it's just in GPS mode. So I'd say that's pretty much a success. We'll go ahead and sit down and we'll do kind of a, pros and cons. We'll talk about everything we just did. And looks like there's a little bit of fog in the camera. You guys can see that on my hat cam. I'm seeing a dot of fog. Let's see if it kind of messes it up if we move the camera up a little bit. Yeah, so see how the camera is shooting through that fog? So that's just condensation from the humidity. I'm in Hawaii, so it's super humid. There shouldn't be any water in it though. While we're here, you want to try to maybe fly it into the water again? Let's try to flip it, since this is the last battery. Ooh. Boy, that thing is hard to flip. Okay, that was weird. It just kind of like set itself down on the water. And I am pushing up, but it's not really launching. There we go. I'm really having to push up on the throttle and it's taking a while to launch. So that's probably a barometer issue. Just doesn't know really how high it is. Just run it into the water a little bit more. Yo! I'm trying to flip it. Oh, there we go. Just kind of shut itself off. Let's rearm. Oh. Will it not rearm because IMU calibration required? Please just let me rearm and then get this thing back. That's gonna suck. Let me try to go attitude mode. Attitude mode is basically flying without any GPS. So we'll switch down to Addy and see if it can possibly launch. Boy, it wants an IMU calibration now. That's scary. See how that keeps flashing up on the screen? Hopefully you guys can see the FPV. So I may need to go swim out and get this thing, because I can't arm it. Boy, a good thing I didn't go way far out and do that, huh? So, unfortunately guys, I have an IMU calibration issue, so something to watch out for. Looks like I am gonna need to go swimming in the water and go and get it. So, let me put this controller down and I gotta go in there. Put that controller right in there. Yeah, it's just right there. Okay, well I'm gonna jump in guys, I'll be right back. Okay guys, back at base camp. I'm gonna sit down here and let's talk about a pros and cons. So what can we expect? You guys kind of saw it all. 1,000 meters of range. This is all waterproof, keep in mind. So I think this is probably the FPV antenna, and then the control antenna is probably somewhere in one of these arms. So if it does flip over, this does have a flip over and self-right feature where if you are over in the water, when it disarms, if you rearm it, it's supposed to auto flip. But as you can see, the IMU calibration over there was giving me a problem when I really tried to jam it hard in the water, and I couldn't relaunch. So if you are gonna fly this and land on the water, you're gonna have to really be prepared to jump in possibly and go get it. Probably won't have to do that unless you really are thrashing it in the water hard. It still struggles with that altitude hold mode, then that's just really a problem with having just a barometer and having a waterproof drone. But you know, it worked fairly well for what it is. Fog in the camera at times, it seemed like the more it heats up, you get a little bit of a patch of fog. Even though I put that anti-fog coating in there, you're just gonna get a little bit of fog, especially in humid environments. I'll let you guys be the judge of how the camera looked. I did have it in 4K, supposedly stabilized mode, where it crops in a little bit, and the software is supposed to kind of take out the shaking a little bit, and I'll have had that up on the screen so you guys can kind of be the judge of how good that looked to you. The circle of round point did fairly well, and that's actually not reliant on the GPS of this. Just the follow me is reliant to follow the controller. The circle around point, you can go over whatever you want. So if you wanted to go over a boat out there, get directly above it, hit that circle around point, it backs up about 50 feet. You've got to tilt your camera pitch up and down, and then you can actually speed it up and you can increase the radius of the circle if you wanted to, and it should still try to keep that initial point lock. One of the really cool features was the return to home is designated to the controller. So if you're on a boat and you got this thing following you, and for some reason who knows what happens, you lose it and it's just way out there and you don't know where it is and you can't bring it home, go ahead and hit return to home, or it should return to home if it loses signal and it's flying. And it seems like it does come right back to where the controller is, so it's constantly kind of updating its return to home. What you might want to do is stay in one spot. If you do lose it or you do hit return to home, it doesn't seem like it's dynamic as it's flying back to home, so you're going to have to stay in that spot where it initially initiated return to home, and then it will come back to your controller. If it was coming home and you moved from that spot while it was coming home, it looks like it's going to land where it marked the spot right when it started to return to home. So the big negative for me was a little bit underpowered. You could see how giving it some throttle, it just a little bit weak there. It did handle everything else okay, but the main thing was the IMU calibration is kind of weird. You can see how it easily gets knocked off kilter. I would have loved to just launch from the water there, but that IMU calibration request thing kept coming up, and you know, it seemed like I should have been able to launch. I wasn't too low on battery and at least got back to the shore. It was only about 10 feet offshore. I had to jump in. So again, main thing, keep in mind that you may need to jump in the water if you're starting to try to land on water and smash into waves and stuff. You know what we should do just real quick is see if it actually can boot up again and see if we still get that IMU request before we finish this video up. So I'll go ahead and arm it again. Hey, it's arming now. So let's see if it even flies. Yep. It is low battery, so that may have been part of the reason it didn't want to rearm. So make sure you're not like trying to bash it in the water when you're low battery. That might be a good idea. But yeah, so it's flying again. That's good. I didn't need to do any IMU calibration. Probably when I get home I want to do another calibration on a level surface. Try to land it right here. All right, cool. All right, guys, again, links in the description for the Spry down below, and also a bunch of other videos, a review series on the Spry on my channel, so check that out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
It's another fiery afternoon, hotter than the month of June, so we should go beach now. Cool down when the water's right, yeah. Let's grab our boards and run, 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 run to the nearest shore. School is out, let's go now. Heading out the door, yeah. The waves is on fire, but the bait is getting hot. This is my desire that wants to hit the spot, yeah. Cool, cool down. The waves is on fire, but the day is getting hot. This is my desire that wants to hit the spot, yeah. cool down. The water's looking nice and blue, bluer than the clearest skies. The waves are firing, getting higher and better even as we speak. Yeah, don't you let the sun hotter than ever before. So let's ride, surf and rise some more. Yeah, the waves is on fire, but the day is getting hot. This is my desire, and once they hit the spot, yeah, cool down. The waves is on fire, but the day is getting hot. This is my desire, that once they hit the spot, yeah.